I've always been into fashion, like since I was a kid. I like challenging myself to rewear pieces that I've had in my closet that, maybe I haven't touched in like a year or two.
In this episode of the Level Asian podcast, I chat to Chandra, a creative and fashion influencer.
I feel like I have so many different aesthetics and like I always have. I think it's just because I like everything and so like I want to wear everything. Like I've tried to move away from like wearing fast fashion brands. Like there are certain brands that like are fast fashion that I will wear here and there, but I'll only do it if I know that I'm actually going to keep that piece for ages and not just, like wear it once and then donate it or like sell it or whatever.
And I think that's also really important to touch on because fast fashion is crazy right now.
At the moment, our society is really consuming clothing trend on trend. At this stage, we're consuming fashion at an unsustainable rate.
65% of garments bought online are sent to landfill each year.
We really need to think very closely if we're throwing that much clothing away.
People like hop on the trends really quickly too. And then once a trend is done, those clothes go in the trash or like into landfill.
You see videos of it like all just landfill and it's crazy.
Before we get started on today's episode, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this podcast is recorded, the land of the Darug people. We would like to acknowledge and pay respects to our elders past and present and the next generation coming through. Now, onto today's episode.
Tara, welcome to the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
For those watching the video version, Tara's dressed very cute, very chic. I love the little details, the rings, the clips, everything.
Thank you.
And for those who have heard the intro already, Tara is a fashion and lifestyle influencer / blogger. But like always, we like to take it back, give us a bit of context. So Tara, tell us a little bit more about your upbringing in childhood before we get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was born and raised in Sydney, so I lived here my whole life. I guess the first part of my life was I went to a Montessori school, which I think is pretty forward for Asian parents back in the early 2000s. And then I went to Catholic schools. I'm not religious, but I actually ended up going to the same primary, high school and uni that my mom went to, which is pretty wild.
And do you have any siblings?
Yes, I have an older sister. We're pretty close. She's 2 years older than me.
Oh, cool. Montessori, let's take that route a little bit.
Yeah.
So what was that like, or do you remember much of it? And do you feel like it's had a bit of an impact on how you are today?
Yeah, well, if you guys don't know what Montessori schools are, it's like a self-directive learning school, I guess. So I went there in preschool and kindergarten, and I think I was there for actually like 3 years because I started a bit earlier, but I really enjoyed it. I think it was a different type of learning style that is standard, like that you typically find in standard schools. Mm-hmm. I definitely think it helped me grow my creativity from a younger age. I remember, I distinctly remember learning how to braid, and I guess that kind of played into like me doing my hair now, and I don't know, doing creative things. Like I would just draw. I did origami with like one of my teacher's husbands that would come in every like few weeks, things like that. So I definitely think it really harnessed my creative upbringing.
And you mentioned that your mum, like you went to the same schooling as your mum, like the same schooling process. Did your parents grow up here, and like what's that background like for you?
Yeah, so my mom moved to Australia. Well, both my parents are Chinese Indonesian. They grew up in Indonesia, but my mom moved to Sydney when she was 9 years old. And then my dad moved to Tasmania with his siblings for boarding school when he was around like 15, and then later moved to Sydney for university. So yeah, my parents moved here like at quite a young age.
And so they're kind of assimilated within Australian culture as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And what do they do for work, I guess? Because obviously you're very creative. Sending their like kids to Montessori schools back then wasn't really like a big thing, I guess. It is more of a thing now, or I know it to be more of a thing now. So have your parents been really creative, or are they in the creative industry?
No, they're not at all. So my mom's actually a registered nurse, but she works in aged care. Okay. And my dad's retired now, but he was in logistics for like most of his career. But I think he actually studied like engineering or something like that. I feel like what my dad does is really like confusing. But yeah, I guess I have creative blood in terms of like what my grandma was like a hairdresser, and my other grandma, she really loves like sewing and I don't know what it's exactly called, but you know, with like patchwork blankets and you kind of like sew them and like embroidery and things like that. So like there's definitely like creativity in my blood, but I wouldn't say my parents are like typically artistic people.
Yeah, but something in the household has always been creative and allowed you to be creative.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, then let's take it through back to schooling then, like university or high school, university. And what was that like and what did you study?
Yeah. So I actually hated high school growing up. I did not enjoy it. I thought I was going to drop out in year 10, but I pushed through. And I actually did end up going to university straight after high school. And I studied a Bachelor of Business majoring in Marketing Communications at UTS. Yeah.
And I guess experience-wise, did you always want to go into that? Like, why did you choose to do it?
Yeah, I think I was just feeling a bit lost after high school and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And I knew that I liked fashion at the time, but I knew that I didn't actually want to study fashion. I just more so liked style rather than design and things like that. And business kind of just felt like the right thing to do because everything kind of revolves around business. So yeah, I just ended up doing that.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah. Well, then fast forward to now, you're in social media.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Like, give us some timelines from like high school, if it started in high school or university. Take us through that whole journey of how you got into social media and how it's grown to what it is now.
I guess I should preface by saying that I've always been into fashion like since I was a kid. And then I kind of grew out of that for a bit and then got back into it when Tumblr was a thing. So around like 2012, I was like really on Tumblr like 24/7. And I think that kind of reignited my interest in social media and then also fashion. And I guess it's like the Tumblr to Instagirly like pipeline. So I started on Tumblr in like 2012. Or maybe a bit earlier, 2011. And I was watching like a lot of YouTubers at that time as well who were creating fashion content, like Jenim. I think we talked about this, Amy Vagon, like Claire Marshall, Hey Claire.
Holy shit, what a throwback. They were like the YouTube girly days.
Like the OG Asian.
And Claire Marshall has, she was so big in fashion. She was like the pillar. Same with Jenim, same with Amy as well. They carved out such big spaces for Asian females, especially.
And like just being like seeing them creating content, I was like, I look like them. I think I can do this as well. And that's kind of how I got into properly doing social media for fashion. So I started a blogspot actually because of school around I think it was like 2013 as well. Right after I started a YouTube channel. And I don't know, it's funny thinking back because I was really surprised. Like now that I think about it, I'm really shocked that my parents let me start a YouTube channel in 2013 because I feel like stranger danger, like online was still a thing. I didn't use like any of my full names, no personal info on there, but I was just creating content and putting it up online, which is pretty wild. So
do you think it's because they didn't quite grasp what it was?
I honestly think my dad let me do it because I told him I could monetize my videos and he was like, I was like, could have had like a business pitch for this.
Yeah, totally.
So I started posting on YouTube 2013, also had a blog that I did because of like an honors project I did at school that I kind of focused on Blogspot, posting like fashion and hair and lifestyle content on there. And then I naturally started an Instagram for that as well. And yeah, the Instagram that I made in 2013 is the Instagram that I have now. So been doing it for 10 years and yeah, TikTok, now there's Threads, like kind of just growing with like whatever's popping up now. Yeah.
So you were posting, I'm just trying to get into the mind of like how you were able to start that. Yes, you started like the YouTube channel, you started posting on blogs, then you took it over to Instagram. So it's almost like you're following whatever was like trending at that time, hopped on that wave, and then now it's kind of served you in a good way because you've been on those OG platforms. A lot of big stars or big like influencers all started on YouTube or Tumblr, and now people have followed them for 10 years plus essentially. So you're one of them, obviously. And I guess like, how did you figure out how to use all of these platforms and really hone in on what the audience wanted?
I guess it was more so from using it as a user, not a creator. So watching YouTube videos and seeing how people edited videos and then trying to figure that out on my own. Following people on Instagram and seeing the type of content they were posting and then kind of recreating my own version of that. But I feel like I really owe it to Tumblr because I feel like Tumblr was like the big push, like trying to create like the cool like Tumblr aesthetic vibe of photos. Yeah.
100%. Okay. Then I am curious about now that social media and being, influencer is your full-time job now. But what were you doing before that to make money, I guess, or like fund it?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like I've had so many different jobs like over the past 10 years. I guess like the key ones would be, and one that I really loved doing was doing disability care companionship work. So they're called Like Family now, but they used to be called Home Care Heroes. And I did a bit of like social media marketing stuff for them. But then I also did companionship care work with them as well, which I loved. I honestly think if I wasn't in like the social media marketing space, that's something that I would still continue doing. Yeah. And I do actually still babysit for like one of my clients that I met through there. So I've been babysitting for them for like 6 years now, which is crazy.
That's really wholesome.
Yeah, like I love their family. And my sister babysits for them now as well. So it's really just become like a whole thing. But yeah, like, so that was one of the jobs I've had. And then I've also had a few jobs here and there in like marketing. I did like a few internships and social, like I think another big one for me was doing TikTok for Flex Factory Store.
What?
Yeah. Do you know Flex Mami?
Holy shit. Oh my God. I didn't know. Okay. Yeah. We'll revisit that. Yeah. Holy shit. Okay. Yeah.
I think that was like my last job. So it was like during COVID before I started full-time content creation. But yeah, that was kind of like the solidifying job that made me realize that I enjoyed doing social media as a career. Yeah.
So you've kind of always dabbled in it as well, and you were doing like little things here and there, little bit big things, to be honest. And then it's one thing to do it as like a social media side hustle, but then how did you go into it full time and like really jump into the deep end of doing fashion blogging, being an influencer, all of that?
Yeah. Well, it kind of just happened organically. Like I didn't really like ever intend to just do it full time. But I guess it happened right before COVID. So like when I finished uni, that was at the end of 2018. And I decided to have like a bit of like a gap year where I was just doing like a few random jobs here and there and social media just for fun and traveling a lot. And then I was like, at the end of 2019, I'm going to start looking for a job. So end of 2019 came along. I started applying to a bunch of jobs. I did like a marketing internship for like a tech company. And then I like started looking for another job after that, got a job, didn't hear back. Well, like I got it. And then I didn't hear back from them for like 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, like what's happening here? And they were like, yeah, so we're actually closing down our agency because of COVID. And I think that was like when I really like was like, whoa, okay, COVID is a thing. And it was coming up to December and I was like, it's holiday period. This is kind of a sign that I'm just going to not look for jobs right now. Yep. Yeah. And obviously like no one's really hiring around that time anyway. So I was like, whatever, I'll just like take it chill for a few more months. Just do social media. I wasn't like really stressed about finances because I had savings. I'm still living at home. So that wasn't really a pressure. Like I'm very privileged in that aspect. But so that wasn't something I had to worry about. So I kind of just took it chill. And then I was like, okay, no one's hiring because COVID is like a full-blown thing. We went into lockdown, all of this. And yeah, I guess over time, I just like started getting more and more paid jobs. And yeah, I just kind of fell into doing it full time without actually trying to do it full time. And then like somewhere in there, I was also doing the Flex Factory TikTok. Yeah, so yeah, like it was, I don't even know like the COVID timeline in my head, but yeah.
So it was almost like, to sum it up, you were getting all of these little brand deals here and there and it was able to float you by because you already had envisioned, like you had your savings, you didn't really need to earn money consistently because you had that in the back of your mind. But then also doing like these fun odd jobs across the board was able to, one, fuel your creativity, but also fund the lifestyle that you needed to have. What was doing TikTok for Flex Factory like? Because for those, or maybe also give us an insight into who Flex Mami is and what Flex Factory was.
Okay, so Flex Mami, if you guys don't know, is like an amazing woman from I guess Sydney. She lives in Melbourne now, and she does so much stuff. Like I don't even know how to encapsulate it all in one. But I know she has like a radio show right now. She's an influencer, creator,
has an Airbnb.
Yeah, there you go. And she has a brand as well, Post Prima Donna, and Flex Factory Store, which is, I think she's kind of merged all into one store right now. Yeah, so Flex Factory Store was her business with Grace, and it's a conversation card game. And I was basically running the TikTok for them. Yeah.
What was that like?
It was honestly really stressful in the beginning because honestly, I'm not the best speaker. So it was like really pushing me out of my boundaries and yeah, like having to create content about conversations, it was really stressful. I was literally having dreams about the type of content that I had to make. Stress dreams they were. Like I would wake up sweating. I was like, oh my God.
Got to make this type of content.
Yeah. But no, Flex was amazing to work with. She taught me a lot about social media and TikTok strategies, and also just general insight into a lot of things. So she's great. I love working.
It sounds amazing. Yeah. And did you kind of meet her through like social media?
Yeah. So I had known her for a few years before that, just through like events and stuff. And then we were like mutuals online. And yeah, like I did go through an interview process, but I don't know. She always says she likes to hire her friends. So
for sure. That's like pretty cool.
Out well.
Yeah. Okay. I have a lot of questions, but like I want to also give a bit of insight for the audience because your fashion sense is, say, like more unique. And I'm really curious to know where you were able to find that, but also what would you call it? Or does it even have a name?
I don't know. I feel like I have so many different aesthetics and like I always have. I think it's just because I like everything. And so like I want to wear everything and I've always been that way. Yeah, I don't know.
Was there a way that like, so certain people, so we were like referring to Claire before and Amy and whatnot, were they kind of your inspiration starters for where to find pieces? And then maybe take us through any other people that inspire you and then how you decided to collect your own pieces to become more unique.
Okay, well, I think my first inspiration was on Tumblr. I feel like that was the biggest influence for my style because I would try and copy and recreate outfits that I saw on there back then with like the very limited clothes that I had. And then also YouTubers. They definitely inspired like the way that I dress and like trying different looks because I felt like the Tumblr versus YouTube aesthetic were very different. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say who I'm inspired by now because I feel like I'm inspired by so much stuff and like people will just like pop up on my For You page on TikTok and there isn't like one person that I look to for inspiration. I guess I'm mostly pushed by like new pieces that I get and like trying to create new outfits around that rather than looking at someone else to recreate or like be inspired by now. But in saying that, like I obviously do get inspiration for like how to style things and how to layer things differently and things like that. Yeah.
In terms of fashion, I know fashion can be also really expensive. Do you get gifted a lot of pieces or do you have to kind of where can you fund or how can you fund a lot of the fashion side of things? So, I mean,
before I was gifted stuff, I like pretty much solely shopped secondhand. And I still do now. So I do get a lot of giftings and I don't feel the need to have to buy a lot of things nowadays just because I feel like I have a lot already and I like challenging myself to rewear pieces that I've had in my closet that, you know, maybe I haven't touched in like a year or two. So yeah, like now I can obviously like afford more things, but I don't feel the need to actually buy them just because I feel like there's like a lot of consumer waste and that's not something that I feel the need to contribute to. And I guess like I only really buy things nowadays if I know that I'm going to wear it like for years. Yeah.
It's like cost per wear kind of thing as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's also really important to touch on because fast fashion is crazy right now. And a lot of, I feel like the younger generation especially is going into more of the vintage and op-shop fashion as well. And like being able to upcycle or recycle a lot of clothing is really important.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And also like we are aware that a lot of the clothing and global impacts and climate crisis issues are going to be impacting us when we're a lot older. Has that like kind of influenced how you dress and how you advocate for that in your fashion?
Yeah, like I've tried to move away from like wearing fast fashion brands. Like I rarely do nowadays. But I'm also like not perfect. I think I am still selective about it, but there are certain brands that like are fast fashion that I will wear here and there, but I'll only do it if I know that I'm actually going to keep that piece for ages and not just, you know, like wear it once and then I don't know, donate it or like sell it or whatever. But yeah, you know, it's like, I was talking about this to someone else recently and it's crazy that Shein is like one of the biggest companies for fashion right now. And I mean, I know that like vintage and like shopping vintage is like a trend right now, but like the cost of buying vintage has become so much more expensive because like everyone's trying to buy it. But Shein is obviously so much more accessible and I get that. But it's also just so sad to see that like such a big fast fashion company is like doing so, like pushing out so much stuff every day and like people are still buying it, but you know.
And people like hop on the trends really quickly too. And then once a trend is done, those clothes go in the trash or like
No,
into
literally.
landfill.
Yeah.
And it's really sad.
I know
Yeah.
it is. And like you see videos of it, like all just landfill, and it's crazy.
It piles up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know that this is also a slight change in question, but I guess a lot of people would be curious about what actually goes on behind the scenes with social media and influencing. Can you give us a bit of an insight into what your day-to-day looks like? I know every day could be different.
No, yeah, I was going to say every day is like very different. It really just depends how busy it is, what I have going on. Like some weeks it's very much like event focused. Like I just have a lot of events going on. Whereas like this week I have like nothing, no events. And it also just depends if I have like a bunch of campaigns and things to shoot, or if it's very like email centric, you know, like doing the back end work of it. Usually if I have like a bunch of photo shoots or like, you know, like content to shoot, I'll set aside like one day where I just shoot everything, and then I'll spend the next few days editing. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because every week and every day is so different.
Yeah. And I guess, is that something that you can really enjoy about what you do?
Yeah. No, you never know what's going to pop up.
So what would like an event day or week look like for you versus what an email or admin kind of day would look like?
Yeah, so I guess like the event, like sometimes I have up to like 4 or 5 events a week and like multiple events a day. And I don't have to go to all of them, but it is a good way to like network and build connections and also just catch up with friends that I only really see at events. So it's fun, but it's also still work. Whereas like email days, it's very much just on your computer doing emails for like the whole day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then I guess also like take a side note here is in terms of brands and partnerships and everything that come through, are you the one having to email on your own, or have you kind of found someone along the way to help manage that process?
Yeah, so I am mostly like self-managed, but I do have a management that I'm not exclusive with. So they kind of manage the stuff that they get for me, and then I do everything else. So I basically manage all the work that comes to me.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot though.
Yeah, I mean, it can be, but I think I am at a good place where like I kind of understand like how things work now.
Yeah.
Whereas I know like a few years ago it was very difficult, like, you know, setting rates for myself and like, knowing how much to charge, because there isn't really like that industry standard for what you should be charging, and your followers are always changing. New platforms are always popping up. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. This episode is sponsored by Mill on Wines. Mill on Wines are an award-winning family-owned winery located in the renowned wine regions of Barossa Valley, Eden Valley and Clare Valley, presenting a fusion of vineyards that seamlessly infuse new technologies with old world traditions. Their vineyards capture the essence of each region, delivering distinctive wines with complex flavour profiles in small batches, a minimalistic approach that allows the fruit to speak for itself. Explore their range at www.millonwines.com.au. Now, back onto the episode. I guess another topic that you are passionate about online is sharing your eczema journey with your audience especially. Can you take us through what that experience with eczema has been like and the challenges you faced along the way, I guess, from when you were younger to now navigating like social media and influencing world and the pressures around that too?
Okay. Yeah. So I have had eczema since I was a baby, and it was pretty bad, but it kind of just chilled out for like primary to high school. And then it came back really bad after high school when I was in uni. And it was actually right before I went on exchange. So that wasn't great.
That's really stressful.
Yeah. So I had to deal with eczema while I was away overseas in like a foreign country, and didn't really have access to the same like healthcare that I would have here. So that was really difficult. And it was also an eye opener for steroid use. Because like pretty much most of the time all dermatologists will like prescribe steroids for eczema, and when I was over there, the steroid cream had stopped working for me because my skin got used to the steroids that I was using. And yeah, that's when I became aware of topical steroid withdrawal. So I kind of just pushed through, had really bad eczema for like multiple months till I got back to Australia. And while I was away, my mum actually booked a dermatologist for me to see when I came back. So went to the dermatologist, got absolutely gaslit by him. He was just like, steroids are like the only option. I was trying to like share my experience, and he was just like cutting me off. I literally bawled my eyes out as soon as I left there.
Wow.
And yeah, I was just like, you know what, like I feel so defeated right now. I'm just going to use the steroid creams that he's prescribed me. And like, once it gets better, then I'm going to try and fully cut out steroids. So I did that, and I was flaring up so bad. And I think something that people don't really talk about with eczema is how like debilitating it can be, especially when it's like that bad. You know, like I couldn't sleep. If I was sleeping, then I would wake up, my eyes would be like crusted together. It was like really painful, and I just like couldn't really do a lot of things, especially working in fashion where you're like wearing different clothes, you know, like the clothes would irritate my skin and then make it worse. So it was hard for me to work as well at that time. So I ended up I just kept using steroids until it hit a point where I was like, you know, like I actually have to stop this because it is not good. And during this time I was like kind of posting about my eczema online, but like not really. And then my eczema just randomly like went away for a bit.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It was really random. And then maybe like a year and a half ago, I want to say, or 2 years ago, it just came back, and it was like really bad. Like it came back on my neck, like so bad. Like I've never had it that bad on my neck before, and I didn't know what had triggered it. And I started posting about it because I was like, I'm confused why I'm flaring up, and now I can't get control of this flare up. I don't want to use steroids. And I was getting like hundreds of messages over like the span of a week of people just like relating to my content. They were telling me, you know, like giving me recommendations for things I can try that were non-steroid. And they were telling me that like they really respected me posting about it on my socials because like they hadn't really seen anyone post about it before. And yeah, I guess that was kind of a push for me to talk about eczema more online, because I don't know, at that time, like people didn't talk about eczema, even though I think the stat is like 10 to 15% of Australians have eczema, which is like a big chunk of our population. And I think like 30% of Americans have eczema, which is crazy. So yeah, I kind of just like kept posting about it, and I still do now, even though my eczema is like settled a lot. I found non-steroid solutions to it that, you know, that helps manage it. I think the most difficult part of eczema was actually having the eczema rather than posting about it online. I felt like I had a good community that supported me and like related to what I was going through. And also it was nice being able to talk to other people experiencing it as well, because I don't really like know anyone else in real life who has eczema like as bad as I do. So it was nice to like be able to connect to people on that level.
Yeah, and I guess having the support of the community would be so important, because you feel so isolated if no one in your immediate or like IRL circles have that. Yeah. There is one other girl that I've noticed on TikTok. I'm not sure her name, but she's also going through the process of coming off of topical or steroid creams for her eczema, and it's incredibly like tough of a situation for her and like the experience of it, because she's going through a similar thing where like flare-ups, she can't move, she's too scared to go out in public. But I guess also just being able to share that kind of story and share your journey with other people makes them feel less alone too.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, and it's really great to see a lot more people posting about it now. There's like a lot of people on TikTok who are going through like the no moisture challenge, which I think is like quite like a lot of people would have seen that content where like, you know, their whole skin is shedding. So I haven't gone through that, and I don't know if I have the guts to, because it is a really long and difficult process, but props to them for doing that.
So how's your eczema journey going now?
It's okay. I've been in like constant up and down flare-ups for the past like 6 months, I want to say, but it's manageable.
For those listening, do you have any advice for those who might be going through a similar journey, whether or not they're trying to go through the withdrawal symptoms or trying to find other solutions other than steroids?
I guess like I've found a lot of things recently that have helped me. One of them being eczema mittens. They're basically, it's like a cardigan that has like little mitts at the end. And that's been really helpful with like my scratching at night. The owner is like absolutely like lovely. They're based in Singapore. I think it's just eczemamitten.com. And another thing I've tried recently is Remy Beauty. And it's actually like a cleanser that's like, there's an oil-based cleanser and a water-based cleanser. And yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And it is wild because I used it on my face to remove my makeup when I first tried it. And I was like, whoa, my skin feels so smooth. I'm just going to try this on my neck. Tried it on my neck and I was like, oh my God, my neck feels so much better. My eczema is like clearing up quite a bit. So I just started using it on like all my eczema patches all over my body. And I've noticed like a huge difference in my skin since using that. And it's helped like, I don't know, it helps moisturize my skin, which I think a lot of my moisturizers and like other products don't really do. Like it doesn't like penetrate the skin that deep. So that's been something that's been really helpful lately. I also like change my towel every day, which I know is a lot, but I use like little square towels just so like I'm not having to wash like big towels every day, but that's helped. Got an air purifier. And for my eczema cream, I've been using this yellow cream by this doctor that isn't TGA approved, but he's based in Lakemba and his name is Dr. Lee, Ellie at BHC Medical Center. And it's hard because not everything works for everyone, right? But for me, this has like really helped me. And I just like, I don't want to tell people to go there because I don't know if it will help you, but just like talking to him, and he's really against steroids. He's created this product that, you know, he's like studied for years to work on. I don't know, it's genuinely helped me, and I use it like whenever I'm flaring up. So I don't know, that's something that I would look into if you're based in Sydney. Yeah, I think that's like most of my recs, but I don't know, eczema is hard because everything works differently for everyone.
Of course, and like everyone's journey is completely different. But thank you for sharing all of that, and also the journey that you went through. I guess because you're in fashion as well, and like beauty space and fashion space coincide with each other, how has your experience been with beauty products and fashion pieces? I know you mentioned before, like you've gone through stages where it might irritate your skin a lot and then you might have an eczema flare up. But then when it comes to beauty, like how has that been with finding products and whether or not products might irritate your skin or create flare ups too?
Yeah, I guess that kind of segues into what we'll talk about soon. But yeah, like I do find some beauty products really like burn my skin, and I find like a lot of the products that I use now, I have to wait like 20 minutes before I apply it. Like even just because like especially after showering, when your pores are open and you're applying like eyeliner, it's gonna like burn my eyelids if I put it on, because my face and my neck are very like the most sensitive parts of my skin. So yeah, there's struggles also with makeup remover, but now I've found the Remy one that's been good. But like, you know, my micellar water has always been really painful for me to use. But yeah, like finding alternatives have been good, and like, you know, things are becoming more accessible, which is great. But yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Well, then I guess that does segue into what we're about to talk about, which is in our prep call. We also spoke at the July event as well, that something exciting that you and your sister are creating in the beauty industry.
Yes.
Tell me more about what it is and why you're creating something.
Yes. So my sister and I are launching a beauty brand for sensitive skin, and we're really excited. I can't share too much about it, but it is in the works. We're in the formulating stage. We've been in the formulating stage for like about a year, but we want to perfect our product. We're launching with one product first, but it's going to be really good. And I'm very excited because this product doesn't exist on the market right now. There's no other competitor for this product. And we are looking to obviously expand our product range beyond this. But I don't know, I'm just really excited to launch this because this is something that I personally have needed for a very long time. And being able to create that with like hand in hand with a chemist has just been like a really exciting process. Yeah.
That's really exciting. And I guess also the niche of it and the need for it as well in the market is so important.
Yeah.
And just also giving people access rather than closing people off to being able to have access to certain products or self-expression or whatever it is. Can you tell us more about the product, or is that kind of under wraps?
It's a bit under wraps, but if I told you what the product was, then you'd be like, okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's very on brand for me.
Yeah. And when do you envision for it to launch?
We're hoping by early next year, but also there's a lot of delays with like ingredients, shipping out, pigments, things like that. So we'll see. But fingers crossed, beginning of next year.
Okay, cool. Where can people find it in terms of where to look out for when it's going to launch?
Definitely my Instagram. I think that will be like, we haven't launched our official Instagram yet or anything like that. So everything that is going to be announced will be through my Instagram, basically. Yeah.
And also just like partnering with, a lot of people say don't go into business with family, right? Yeah. And so like, how did that decision come about with your sister? Does she suffer through the same kind of journey as you, or is it something that she was just purely interested in?
Yeah, so we actually have had the idea for this business like years and years ago, but we never felt like it was the right time to do it. Yeah, so it kind of just happened by chance. We came across this competition, and that's how this kind of business idea came to light. We really developed it from there. But we entered the business pitch competition and we won an investment and a partnership with a production agency, Atelier, and also Hattrick House, which did our marketing and design stuff. Just our design stuff. And my sister and I kind of just like fell into this partnership, but I feel like she's the person I can trust the most. We work really well together. I also think that like, if anything ever happened to us, like in terms of our relationship with each other, like we'd be able to figure it out. I feel like people say don't work with your family, but when you're really close to your family, it kind of just makes sense that if you want to partner with someone, it would be them. So it just worked out well.
For sure. And is her background similar to yours?
She has eczema, but not to the level that I have. We like to make a joke out of it because she had to go to she had to go to hospital once for her eczema.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, wow, you had eczema once in your life?
Oh my God.
And you had to go to hospital? Are you serious?
Yeah,
I literally have to deal with this every day.
Yeah. That's crazy.
She hasn't experienced it on the level that I have, but she does have eczema. And I feel like most people would say that they have sensitive skin. I think 1 in 10 people have sensitive skin. So she relates to it, but she's very much on the back end of doing meetings, finance stuff. And I'm very much going to be on the front end and talking about my experience and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool that you can both collaborate in that sense.
Yeah.
I guess also in terms of like your parents and where they come into this now, like how are they feeling about the success that you've had so far and also now going into business with your sister?
Yeah, no, my parents have always been really supportive and very proud of what I've done, which is great because I know that a lot of other people don't have that. My parents have always just embarrassingly shown my YouTube channel or my Instagram to anyone and everyone they meet.
That's really cute.
Yeah, they've been really, really supportive, and they're obviously very supportive about our business as well, which has been really nice.
That's super fun. Oh, that's really wholesome. That's really supportive as well. So I was doing a little bit of digging into you and online articles and everything, and I came across a piece with Pop Sugar that you did.
Yes.
And you essentially addressed the article to your younger self and how proud you are of your younger self, and also why you're creating the brand that you're creating, which we touched on. You also speak about creating a strong team that is giving space for LGBTQIA plus and POC individuals. Can you tell us about why you would like to build a team with that representation and why it's so important for you?
Yeah, I think because I work in a lot of spaces where that isn't honored, especially being POC in the creative industry, where the creative industry in Australia is so small. It's very much like pushing POC to the front of the camera, and behind camera it's all just a white crew. So I think being two POC business owners, we really want to highlight that and highlight the importance of representation in the industry, and also identifying as queer myself. I think that's really important as well.
Yeah. And I think if you have the opportunity to make that space for other people because of your lived experience,
no, exactly.
We may as well, right? Take up the space, especially.
Yeah, exactly. As you know, with this podcast.
Exactly. Great, and it's great to be able to be surrounded by people who are like-minded. I was having this conversation with my best friend the other night, and she was just saying, when she's in circles that might be more white compared to POC, she's realized that the way that she has conversations is a lot more difficult because the different layers of understanding and empathy just might not be there. And little comments that you might have just might not be translated over entirely. Have you felt that similar in the fashion industry and the work that you do?
For sure, in the workspace, and then also just in social settings. A lot of my friends are POC or queer. So I think we share a lot of shared experiences. And I do feel like I'm in a bubble sometimes because I'll leave my friendship group and friendship circle and meet you people, and they'll not really relate to the things that I talk about or that, my friends would. So I definitely do notice that.
And I guess also taking it back into the fashion industry, and are you able to share any challenges you might have felt along the way? Because obviously social media and doing this work is really exciting because it's constantly changing and there's so many great opportunities. But is there a side of it where it's like you would like to shed some light on any challenges that you have faced or had to go through?
Well, I mean, just being POC in the industry, I guess that is like the biggest one that I have felt. But I also feel like being East Asian has been a privilege at the same time.
Okay. Tell me more.
Yeah, I think because like, especially now, like a lot of people want representation in their campaigns and things like that. So I feel like it has been an opportunity, but I also feel like I have had to work a bit harder than other people to get into the position that I am. But yeah, I guess, I don't know, it's hard because it's like a positive and a negative because like I don't want to be tokenized in these campaigns, but it also like allows me to have more opportunities and like work opportunities that I wouldn't have otherwise had. So yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but
it's like the mindset of it, right? It's like if you think of it in a negative sense of like, oh, I'm just being tokenized, I'm just here for representation, that's all you're going to feel or represent yourself as. Whereas if you show up and you're like, no, I own this space and I do deserve this, then that also shows through with your confidence and like how you represent yourself too. Is that kind of how you feel?
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, very true.
That's really good then. Like I do feel like I've noticed as well, like through the fashion space, influencer space, there is more representation and just space to be held by POCs and non-white backgrounds too, which is really nice to see.
No, definitely.
I guess to take it on a different note, like what kind of advice would you like to give to younger generations that want to pursue something similar to you?
I did have this Viv did tell me to like think about this question beforehand, which is good because I really thought about it and I was really struggling. Yeah. And I still don't know if this is like what exactly like the exact thing that I want to say, but this was the first thing that came into my mind and I still stand true to it. But it's to dream big because those dreams won't feel so big in time. I think especially being in this industry for 10 years, I've really like started from the beginning where I had like 0 followers, like I really started from scratch and it was at a time when like this wasn't a career path that you could have. And I would follow big influencers like Nicole Warm. She was Gary Pepper Girl back then.
Wow. Yeah. What a throwback.
Yeah. So like seeing like her, like travel overseas with a brand, do like all these amazing jobs. And I was like, like I can't do that because I have no followers, I'm just this girl with like 100 followers or whatever. But I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to, travel, get sent stuff. And it's crazy because those things felt so out of reach when I started 10 years ago, but now it's just like, it's normal for me. I've been able to have those experiences very luckily. But I also feel like I've worked for it at the same time. So I think by like dreaming big, you kind of subconsciously work towards your goals regardless of what you're doing. Yeah.
I think that's really beautiful because it's like we talk about the whole notion of the bamboo ceiling on this podcast and how I know that there are strong opinions with some of our hosts, myself included. The bamboo ceiling doesn't really exist, in my opinion, just because you put a cap on yourself as much as you put a cap on yourself. Like if your mindset is, I can't achieve these things because X, Y, and Z, you're never going to be able to achieve those things. And I have like a similar life motto for myself where it's like, I can do fucking anything. Like if I think that way, I can achieve it because you've opened the whole sky for yourself to achieve. You mentioned travel, all these cool things that you get to do. Can you give us maybe like the top 1 or 2 coolest experiences you've had in this job that you otherwise probably wouldn't have had?
I think they would be like both related to travel. I think it's just, recently I went to Japan with Jean-Paul Gaultier, which is like absolutely insane.
So cool.
Like, what? And we got to meet him, the designer himself, which was like crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's so wild.
They really treated us well on that trip as well. And I think another highlight was going to New York with Samsung. I've really been able to build a really strong relationship with them and it was a great time. Like I'm going to travel with them really soon in like a week. So
where are you going? Can't say yet?
Well, I only found out that it was confirmed like right before I came.
Okay, cool.
But we're going to Korea. So because I assume this is going to come out like by the time that's happened, which is really exciting. Yeah, I don't know. I guess travel, it's still really exciting to me. I feel like there's parts of my job, like gifting, that has kind of lost its spark because it happens so often. But travel with a brand has always like stayed the same.
Especially after COVID, it just hits different now that you get to go and explore the world.
No, exactly.
Wow, that sounds so incredible. What was your Japan trip like?
It was so good. I hadn't been back to Japan. Like I had only been to Japan when I was a kid. So being back as an adult was like really cool. And I extended my trip after. So I got to solo travel by myself for the first time.
Oh, that's so good.
Which was really fun. Yeah.
How liberating.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess as we wrap things up, if people want to connect with you, Tara, how can they find you online?
Cool. Yeah. My username is Chandra _ across Instagram and TikTok. Yes.
Amazing. Are you across anywhere else like YouTube?
On YouTube a little bit, Tara Chandra on there, but I don't really post that often.
Any exciting things that you want to plug while we're here?
No, I guess it was just like my business with my sister. And then, yeah, if you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, Instagram and TikTok are my main platforms. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming onto the Levelation podcast today. We really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your stories as well. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Thanks so much for tuning in. A lot of work and effort goes into Levelation with a whole team behind the scenes. While we aren't looking for anyone to pay for this content, what helps the podcast grow, reach more people, and benefit more Asians around the world is if you could leave a 5-star review if you're on Spotify, Apple, Google, or any other audio platforms. And leave us a like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Catch you on the next episode.